Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome to the Sacred Soul Shift series. I'm your host, Vanessa, your trusted soul navigator and energy alchemist. In this series, we'll embark on soul-stirring adventures through the realms of intuition and self-healing with women across all modalities, where ancient wisdom and modern insights intertwine. So if you're tired of the scripted routine and ready for healing and growth, my kindred spirit, this series is crafted just for you. It's time for your Sacred Soul Shift. Come in, say hello, make yourself comfortable. Tonight we have Alicia Ingruber. She is a female empowerment coach. Love that, so close to my own heart. She is an international yoga teacher as well. It is her soul mission to teach women how to step back from being in places like burnout, I guess. We're going to talk to her about her own journey and how she became to be the female empowerment coach that she is tonight. She's helping women step into their feminine power, listen to their own wisdom, and reclaim the certainty of their inner guidance. Love that. Very similar paths to mine. Welcome, Alicia. Thank you for being here with us tonight.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. It's such an honor to be here and be with your community. I'm so excited.
Okay, so you're a female empowerment coach. I am going to straight up take you way, way, way back before when everything happened. Mm-hmm. Who was Alicia back then? Where did it all begin? How did it start? When did you hit burnout? I want to know all the things.
All the things. All right. Settle in for a tale. So I was in my late 20s and I mean, the best way to say it is that I had FOMO really bad, fear of missing out. I have to keep up with everything and do everything to be successful in all areas of my life. And it was a lot of fiery masculine energy of doing and achieving. So I was pushing my body, trying to achieve, the Instagram ideal of what I physically should look like. I was working overtime really hard at a job that didn't fulfill me and also didn't appreciate me. I was in a very toxic relationship where I was not being true to myself, and I completely lost myself in that process. I just had a full packed schedule, all the things, go, 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 go. Not sustainable. And then it all.
I just want to say that social media thing, I think that applies to everyone. The FOMO with social media, it's so toxic.
Yeah, especially, when you're younger, in your 20s, it's very impressionable. And now we kind of realize, okay, filters and things are not as they seem, and we can look at things a little bit more critically, that it's a highlight reel. But I was very much in stage of, oh my God, everyone's life is so amazing. Mine has to be amazing as well. And I have to achieve the same things these people are achieving. Madness. And I went through a very traumatic breakup. I moved countries. I started a new job, but I could feel that my energy was really, really struggling, and my body started to get really, really sick. And I came to the realization of, oh my God, I have no idea who I am. I don't love myself, and I'm completely lost because I really don't know what I should be doing in my life. But because I was on my own, I kind of went into survival mode of, okay, I have to keep going because I'm the only one that's looking after myself. And eventually my body collapsed in an epic burnout that lasted about 2 years. And it was the lowest of the low of the low. So it's interesting because I've spoken to a few people who say, oh, I think I burnt out, but I didn't realize. Trust me, you burn out, like you are completely depleted. You couldn't do something if you wanted to. And the strange thing is you don't actually want to. It's a really strange space. My body was in a lot of pain. The doctors couldn't figure out anything that was wrong with me. My head was completely clouded. I couldn't think clearly or rationally. It was incredibly emotional. It was heartbreaking. It was just the ultimate rock bottom. I struggled to walk to the end of the street. That was like the biggest thing. My nervous system had been so stressed for such a long time that Any kind of extra stimulation was too much. Music, light, sound. I couldn't walk into a store for like 6 months because it was just way too overwhelming. Yeah, it was really, really intense. So from rock bottom, I turned 30. I had lost my relationship, my career, all my circle of friends, my health, everything that I'd worked so hard to achieve was just gone. And it was really like, it was intense.
Shit.
Yeah. But it was the greatest blessing ever, because it was really like, okay, now you're going to take the time to really get to know who you are, what you really want, not what everybody else wants, not what you feel you should do, not people pleasing things, you know, like what do you really want to do? What is your soul here to do? And it was really a time of reconnecting with my body, building my relationship with myself. And I made a promise to myself and to my body of like, okay, you know what? We are going to do things differently. From now on, I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to follow my inner guidance. I'm going to listen to you. We're going to do things completely differently. And it was a path that ultimately led me to doing work I absolutely love, that I know that I was on this planet to do. It brought me relationships that are genuine and supportive and loyal, ride or die people that just I can lean on anytime, day or night. It brought me so much fulfillment and happiness and self-love, and just allowed me to manifest some pretty incredible things. So my burnout, I always say, was my biggest blessing. It was brutal, but it was kind of necessary.
Say brutal 2 years. That is the longest that I have heard anyone last through a stage of burnout. That well done for climbing yourself out of that. And I really feel for you because I kind of went through a shitty situation and I was by myself as well. And it is really hard to do the things, right? To stand up for yourself and to take back your own power without any other support. So that is really courageous. And after 2 years, I have no idea what that would have felt like. And good on you for putting your foot down and just being like, I've had enough. You know, it's time for change. Because when I've felt it, but not at that extent.
Yeah, I resisted it for a long time. Like my body was like, hello, we can't. And I'm like, we have to go, push, you know?
Yeah.
And then when I was officially diagnosed with burnout, I didn't want to accept it. Like, this is unfair. Like, no, like just, I think a lot of it is mental and emotional, to realize like, okay, what you were doing is just not working. And it's heartbreaking because you did your very, very, very best. You did your best and it still all fell apart. So it's really emotionally difficult. And 2 years, I mean, I had gradually been able to do things. I was teaching maybe 2 yoga classes a week, but for the rest, I couldn't do anything else. It was naps every day. It was alone. The outside world was still a bit too much. Because your energy is so depleted that any energy that you do use gets depleted again because you don't have any reserves. So the process of building it up takes a long time.
Yeah, and it's really important to know when you are in that space that the energy that you're using, you're not doing nothing. You're not pathetic. You're not useless. You shouldn't feel guilty because the energy that you have is for survival. And to live through that process takes extreme strength and courage. So it's not something that you should be ashamed of. Like if you are in that place, in that mode of survival living, it is, you know, it's something to be, it's wonderful that you are surviving. And you're cooling back your own energy, and bit by bit you're building it up. So it's really important that, you know, women understand that it's not a problem. You know, surviving is a thing, and you need that energy to survive in that moment. So it's important to understand that surviving is a thing, right? Yeah.
Definitely. That's the thing. Like, I mean, I work a lot with balancing masculine and feminine energies, particularly for women who are very dominant in their masculine, like they're just doing and achieving and going. And I've noticed some people can really feel like, oh, my masculine is bad. But it's not, because I always say, thank God for this energy that pushed you forward, because where would you be without it? You know, you wouldn't be able to survive, just like what you said.
Yeah. Beautiful. And it's funny that you were talking just before as well. I was actually writing about this today, that your soul will never give up on you. It will keep calling back. It will keep pushing. It will keep, giving you little symbols and signs. And, it won't give up on you. And it's not until you actually go, all right, I see the messages, I hear it, and I understand, and I'm going to do something about it. It's not your imagination. It's not going to go away. Your soul will keep calling you back onto your aligned path. And that's really beautiful that you brought that
So
up.
true. Yeah, this is something I really experienced, because I ignored my intuition for a long time. But it just kept going, like
Yep.
and like you said, that I love how you framed that your soul doesn't give up on you. That's such a beautiful, yeah, it's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah. I was writing about it today. The difference between if it's your imagination calling you to do something, or if it's your soul, and it's the soul that won't give up on you. If it's your imagination, you'll forget about it and you'll be on to the next thing the next day. But if it's for you, and it's for your your path, your purpose in life, it'll keep calling you, and that's beautiful.
Yeah. And unfortunately, sometimes it has to act drastically. I mean, for me to really get the message, I had to go through this really intense experience. I had to have everything that I associate with, in the sense of everything I take my sense of self-value and self-worth from, be taken away from me, so that I could find that worth within myself. It was necessary. If someone had just told me that wouldn't resonate, it wouldn't be real. So yeah, my soul just said, all right, we got to do this the hard way. She's not listening, let's go.
Yeah. That's so true. And when you start shifting as well, I want to know about how, from a spiritual perspective, I know once you shift into your alignment, you start, driving along the path of your purpose, the teachers and the wisdom and all the information starts coming to you, kind of like magic, right? How did your teachers and your mentors start coming into your life when you were, at rock bottom?
I love this question. First of all, it came from within, from a guidance, to connect to my yoga practice in a completely different way. So before, I had been approaching yoga as a way to gain flexibility, or to gain strength, or to gain something. And right away, it shifted to my practice being a place where I could just be with myself and listen. So that was the first kind of shift. And when I was in the doctor's office in so much pain, and they were like, there's nothing wrong with you, have a nice day, like nothing is showing up on the tests, I actually did a search for Ayurvedic doctors, Ayurvedic healing, because I had found that through the yoga. And this most incredible woman was available really close to where I was. And she listened to my story with such compassion. And the first thing that she said was, of course you're out of alignment. Like, of course you feel like this way. It was like the first person to justify what I was feeling. Like, no, you're not crazy. This is why you're feeling this way. And she supported me through my nutrition and through lifestyle changes and mindset changes. So that was incredibly, incredibly beautiful. And then, human design came onto my path, and I realized, oh, my energy works in a completely different way. It's just, there was just so many mentors. It was incredible, actually, because 3 days after my ex left me, I found myself in Bali. I had signed up for a yoga teacher training, and every person I met was just like sent from the universe. It was so incredible. The lessons, the guidance, the kindness. I will be forever grateful to those people that came on my path, for sure. And so it kind of led me into more understanding energy and building a relationship with my body. And from there, it went into, okay, learning the chakras a little bit deeper, and energetic healing, and masculine and feminine energies, and polarity, and how to manage your energy in different ways. And it kind of grew from there. And I was doing a lot of this work through my yoga teaching. And then I just felt really a pull of, I want to go deeper. So coaching came onto my path, and and we just keep growing from there. So
I love that. I love how quickly things can shift once you shift onto your own path and your own journey, and you kind of meet spirit halfway and stuff. Opportunities start coming into your lap, and doors open, and people that come into your space, are there to teach you and help you grow. I love how quickly that can happen once you decide, to change and to start shifting things.
yeah, it's amazing. Like, particularly when I was in Bali, like every single person, I just thought, okay, come on, like, wow, it was just blowing my mind. And such insightful people that were dropping truth bombs here and there, and led me to really powerful healers. And yeah, it was incredible. It was really incredible.
I love the way you also spoke about shifting your own perspective when it came to your yoga teaching and your yoga flow, and how you approached it before, and how when things shifted, you saw it differently, and you reacted to it differently. I love that too. It's such a powerful, internal shift.
Yeah, it's also how I teach now. I teach very much focused on, what are you feeling? Go with the feeling. Let yourself just express. I often say to my students, I don't really care what shape you make with your body. Like, that doesn't really matter. Of course, I don't want you to do anything dangerous. I'm keeping that in mind. But
Yeah.
it's not about achieving a perfect pose or pushing. And because I'm like, the mat is the one place where we don't have to keep up with everyone else. So I really encourage my students, like, this is your practice. And I give them freedom to explore, and I give them options based on what their energy is like, what their body is telling them, so that it's beautiful. You see a room and everyone is kind of doing something different, like, and really tuning into, what do I need in this moment? What is my body sharing with me? How can I best honor it and just be with what I'm feeling? So that's really, really nice to see other people doing that as well.
I love that. What do I need in this moment? So powerful. I really want to talk about, going back to the burnout. How can you help women, see and realize when they're in a place of burnout, or when they're headed that way? When is the perfect time to start shifting? I know you're going to say like yesterday, but what's the best, or not the best, but the easiest kind of way to recognize, when they're headed towards burnout, and what that actually looks like?
So some of the signs of burnout is being in a constant state of stress and anxiety. Your nervous system is always on high alert. So it can feel like you're stuck on this hamster wheel, that you know that it's getting too much, but you can't stop. Like, it's just, it keeps going. Trouble sleeping, not being able to get rest, feeling like the weekend is not long enough, feeling like you're struggling now to focus. You can really feel that the energy is going down, down, down. Different symptoms in your bodies: migraine, lots of headaches. I particularly had stomach issues like crazy, aches and pains, just being completely overwhelmed, and is a sign that you're headed in that direction. But it's also very much from a mindset of, I can't stop. I'm not allowed to rest. I have to keep going. If I don't keep going, X, Y, and Z will happen. It's just, it's very, I've noticed it's very difficult to try to catch people before, because they're kind of in that state where they're not going to listen to it anymore. Like, they're just so, which is unfortunate, because that's really, to prevent is of course better. But it's just feeling like there's so much that you have to do. You're running out of energy. Everything feels overwhelmed. Everything feels highly emotional. And it's just really this feeling of like, oh my God, I don't think I can keep this up anymore, is what's
Yeah.
starting to happen. And when you eventually do collapse, the work there is to first of all forgive yourself, and to let yourself rest is important, but that's really hard to do because your mind keeps going. So your body can no longer keep up, but your mind is like, I still have to do this, and I still have to do this, and all of these fears and anxiety, and I have to keep going, and oh my God, this means this Y and Z, and like it doesn't stop. So it's a practice of breath work really helps, meditation really helps, finding support from the people around you that give you permission to rest. And there can be a lot of resistance to that because rest feels like I'm lazy and okay, I rested for a day. It should be done now. I should be able to go back. And the thing with burning out is you can never actually go back to how you were before, which not a lot of people talk about, but that is essentially the truth. You're not going to be the same. And it's actually a beautiful thing because how you were before wasn't working. You weren't in alignment. It wasn't working. So part of that process is letting go of who you thought you were and how you thought life should be, and starting to embrace this new version of yourself. That's not an easy process. So finding support, and in the first beginning stages, to not expect anything from yourself. Like you really just need to focus on getting the right nutrition into your body, trying to get high quality sleep, trying to nap and rest as much as possible. First, to bring the nervous system back into a sense of balance before you can even start to think about, okay, what's the next stage of my life? Where can I move forward? Because in those beginning stages, you don't have the energy. And it's really like, okay, we need to kind of reset the body before we can start creating a new life. So yeah.
I love that. I love how you touched on to the idea of letting go. And I think that comes from a little bit of a perfectionist woman-based mindset of, the world needs me to survive. If I stop, if I give up, if I don't do one thing, that everything's going to fall apart. I'm going to lose my job, my kids aren't going to be happy, whatever. I think it comes down to that control, that need to control everything, and the need to do everything yourself. And no one else is going to be able to step up and do that job, the way you can do it. And I think that letting go of that control too is a big milestone when it comes to having to do all the things.
Yeah. And it's exactly like what you say. So if you recognize that you have these tendencies already, like, oh yeah, I am a bit of a perfectionist and a control freak, that's the time to really try to get support to shifting your mindset and releasing some of those tendencies and starting a new way of approaching. Because going on that path to burn out is a really harsh lesson because you don't have control anymore. You can't do, even if you want to, you can't. So it's a really, really painful for someone who needs control and is very perfectionist and things like that. So to avoid that, looking for support to try to shift your mindset and your approach and finding more balance and releasing your sense of worth from what it is you achieve and what you do. You are worthy because you are. It's not reflected in what you achieve.
Yeah, I can see that it's coming across as, a loss of identity, like feeling like you're not needed, and that can bring on, the feelings of not being worthy, or, no one needs you anymore. So what do? You have nothing to do because no one needs you, but in reality, you are you without the things, without all the hard work.
And burnout is really personal. It really depends on the person of what led you to that, and what are the beliefs driving you to get to that point. It's really interesting because I often ask people, do you know why you burnt out? And they might say the practical, tangible things of, yeah, I was working too hard, or I was just in the wrong situation, or I was, caring for someone and dealing with an incredible amount of grief, and I just couldn't cope anymore. These are like the surface level things, but underneath there are beliefs about who you are, what you deserve, what you're worthy of, what your role is, how other people see you, what you can and can't do, what you can and can't have. And that's actually driving you to this extreme point of exhaustion where you just can't anymore. So it's belief and mindset is huge.
Yeah. That's as it is with everything, your mindset. You can change the world with mindset. You touched on it just briefly before, some of the methods that I think you helped. You help now, obviously, other people, but back in the day when you were going through this process, the tools that helped you and guided you on your journey. You mentioned meditation, breath work. First, obviously, looking after the body and that sort of thing with sleep and food and nutrition. But what are some of the tools that you recommend to others as they begin their journey, back to the self and back to a healthy lifestyle?
So I would say to work on those tools when you have a sense of a little bit of energy back. So in the beginning, it's just rest and as much as possible. And like I mentioned, nutrition is incredibly important, especially, finding foods that support your energy and support serotonin, because your brain is just in complete overdrive. And most likely in burnout, you can most likely experience quite depressive thoughts and quite bleak outlooks and quite critical, like inner critic towards yourself, quite harsh. So food that also supports your brain and herbs that support that, and staying hydrated and getting enough sleep is like your number one priority in the beginning stages. When it feels like you have a little bit more energy, gentle movement that stimulates energy. So in the beginning, I only did yin yoga because that's all I could do. And I focused on meridian lines that supported the kidneys, which in the I Ching, in the Chinese medicine, this is your adrenals. This is your life force energy. So things that support the kidney line and various organs for, dealing with anger and dealing with grief and things like that. Making sure that you can go outside into nature at least once a day. And hopefully that's a bit of a quiet area because I had that the outside world was really intense. So I was lucky that I could go move back in with my parents who live in a quiet village and there was a forest nearby. So I would very slowly go for these walks just to be in the forest, to breathe, to get some fresh air, to be in the stillness. And that was kind of it. Like it was very gentle movement. Meditation was more of done in the approach of sending loving kindness to yourself and to your body, loving energy to your body. It was also very much of asking forgiveness, at least for me. I'm so sorry I put my body through this, and sending love and healing energy to all my organs, to myself. And breath work was, there were two methods that I personally really focused on. One is a yogic technique called Nadi Shodhana, otherwise known as alternate nostril breathing. So breathing in through one nostril for a count 5 to 8 or even more, holding the breath as you switch, and then exhaling out through the other nostril, and then repeating, inhaling through that nostril, switch, exhaling through that nostril, and just making sure that the counts are the same for the inhale and the exhale. And what this does is it helps to balance both hemispheres of the brain and helps to calm the nervous system. And it's just a really nice, steady way of feeling like, okay, balancing the left side, the feminine side, balancing the masculine side, the right side, and just keeping that nice in a gentle flow that's not too aggravating for your system. And Yeah, I also like to just do what's known as box breathing, sort of similar, so that you inhale for a count, you hold the breath for a count, you exhale for that same amount, and then you suspend the breath at the end of the exhale. And being able to slow down your breath and breathe to your full capacity in a relaxed way just really helps support the nervous system, helps bring you back into your body, into the present moment, helps to calm your mind. So really nice, slow, gentle breath work, I really recommend. Nothing that makes you panic. So if suspending your breath in the box breathing feels like, oh my God, then don't do that. Then stick with
Get rid
the
of it.
Nadi Shodhana. I like that one because there's no holding, so it can just flow and it can help relax. And you can do as many rounds as you like, especially in the evening to calm the mind, but really at any time of the day. That was one of my favorite breath practices. And then the more energy that you receive, the more you can grow that movement and do things a little bit more. But really, in the beginning, it's all about, okay, what's going to be the most nourishing and what feels good to do, not like, oh, I have to go do this, right? You know, this to-do list, because that's the same type of energy that got you into the burnout in the first place. So it's really about finding practices that feel like, oh yeah, this feels really nice. This feels good. I want to do this. Yeah.
I love that. I agree with the self-care practices. Anything that's trending, or you do because it looks cool, or you were talking about earlier doing the yoga because you feel like you need to be flexible, or
Or
pushing
achieve
yourself
these
to go to the
crazy
gym.
postures like on Instagram. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
no, let all of that go.
Posing out at the beach on the rocks.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
pushing yourself to go to gym, eating. I particularly love as well eating foods. You see the diets on the Instagram and the Facebook, and eating a month worth of food and just hating every time you open the fridge because you don't want to eat that stuff. That's not going to make you healthy in the long run, because your mind and your soul is like, no, this is not nourishing me. It's disgusting. You want to do the things that make, as you said, to make you feel good and make you feel nourished and loved, and like a warm hug. Your self-care practices should always make you feel like a warm hug, even if it is exercise. You should enjoy what you're doing. That's where you're going to get the most benefit out of it in the long run.
Yeah, and it's a really gentle process of slowly incorporating these habits. It might feel emotionally good to eat cookies all day, like, okay, but if we're honest, it kind of makes us feel crappy, like physically.
Yeah.
So I really recommend to see someone who can support you in your nutrition and can just tell you, okay, this is what's happening in your body. So to support you, try incorporating these foods. I think that's really, really important, because a lot of diet advice, it's very general and it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
apply to everybody. So seeing a nutritionist, or like in my case, an Ayurvedic doctor, or someone who can just support you and say, okay, focus on this foods because that's going to help bring you back into balance. I think is
Yeah.
really, really important. It's about nourishing your body and taking care of yourself, which maybe you haven't been doing, and building that relationship with yourself of, yeah, I want to look after my body, because the more I give it, the more it gives also me back. And thank you so much for everything you do for me,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Beautiful. And it is shifting that perspective from thinking of the things that you should be doing to nourishing yourself to the practices that you want to do. I love that.
Yeah, don't try to do a 3-hour morning routine. It's just, like, it's too overwhelming. It's really little things that make you feel like, okay, I'm okay. I can find a little bit of joy in this, which is really, really
Yeah.
difficult, because in burnout you might feel like, but what used to make me happy doesn't make me happy anymore. So what the hell makes me happy? So it's just really, really gentle little things, small
Mhm.
steps, and patience. Patience
Yeah.
is huge.
And it's okay to be, in a position where you don't know what makes you happy. I think that's the most exciting place to be in, because you get to try all the things. If you start doing something and you feel like you've got to be dedicated to the rest of your life, no, you can try something. If it doesn't resonate with you, if it doesn't make you feel good on the inside, get rid of it. Try something else. No one's telling you have to do meditation every morning for the rest of your life. You don't have to do yoga if you don't like yoga. There's millions of different tools and techniques out there to support you on your journey. So whatever makes you feel good makes you feel good. Doesn't have to make the next woman feel good. You don't have to feel embarrassed or silly for the things that make you feel good, because they make you feel good, and they're filling up your energy cup, and that's what's most important when it comes down to it.
Definitely, to let go of comparison, to let go of judgment. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing approach. It's really just feeling, okay, what would best support me in this moment? Maybe it's just reading your favorite book right now, or, watching a comfort film, or something, it can be really, really small little things. But it's important also to make sure that the people around you are supportive of that, because people who haven't gone through burnout, they don't understand. They don't understand what it's like. So just to make sure that you let people know that you just need them to be supportive. Sometimes the suggestions are not helpful. Someone suggested to me, I was in burnout, and they're like, why don't you go work in a shop? That might be nice. I was like, oh my God, I can't even, oh my God. I was like, okay, that's not really helpful. Thanks.
That's so true. And to understand, people's advice comes from their perspective, not your own. So you don't have to listen to anyone when you're in that position as well. I was reading about that the other day, actually. But I love your idea of, the gentle support exercises, like the breathing. I hadn't actually heard it explained the way you explained it, with the alternate nostril breathing, how it balances both hemispheres of the brain. I love that. I hadn't actually heard that.
It's really great for mental overwhelm as well. Even if you're not burnt out, any kind of mental overwhelm, or just, it really helps. So a good one to incorporate into your day.
Love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Moving on, is there any words of wisdom you have for females, women that are, they're stepping into their journey? They may have already been through the burnout. What are your words of wisdom for supporting women on this journey?
In finding their next direction, their next way. Your soul already knows. And just to let yourself be patient on that journey. I found personally that going into systems like human design and astrology, I found really helpful. Maybe not everybody finds that helpful, but I found it personally very, very helpful, because there were indications of what would best suit my energy and what I'm kind of here to do and things like that, which I really liked. But it's a process of self-discovery and asking yourself, if money wasn't an issue, if I didn't care about what anyone else thought, if I had the freedom and the time and I could just do anything, what would I really, really want to do? And then, finding that in a practical way is a whole other ball game. But taking the time to tune in, I journaled a lot, and asked my spiritual team for support and for guidance. And there are little things left on the path, that little guideposts that kind of send you in that direction. And remembering actually what it is that you loved as a child is also really, really helpful, because as a child, you just did for the sake of enjoyment, right? It wasn't to win a Nobel Prize or to pay your bills or anything like that. It was just purely for the pleasure of it. And so your childhood has definite hints as well of what your soul really wants to do.
Love that. Answering the call. Such a strong message.
Yeah.
And soul always knows. And it's really listening for those clues and picking up on the guidance. And just, I think, surrendering to the process as well. Once you start, it's then letting go and just being like, okay, I'm here. What do you want me to do? and just
and
following the calls.
that's really difficult if you have control freak tendencies and impatience of, but I want to know now, just tell me where I'm going so I can go, like it's it's just kind of trusting the process and knowing you will get there. Like when you look back, you're like, oh yeah, totally, I can see it was super clear path. But sometimes when you're in it, it can feel challenging to find your direction. So just trust the process. It's happening. Don't worry. It's happening.
That's so true. When you don't realize what you're in when you're in it, but when you're a few steps ahead and you look back and you see all the opportunities that were available to you and the exact path that was laid out for you, it all makes sense when you get to a certain point or points along the path. It's funny how it works out like that.
And ask for help if you need to, like reflect back to people, ask them, how they see you and, what they value in your friendships and what type of person they think you are. And, or even finding the support of a coach or a guide or a teacher. Because yes, you are on your path, but you don't have to do it on your own. There's so many different opportunities and resources that you can reach out to support you and just make it a little bit easier.
Beautiful. That's why we're here. That's why we do what we do, right? We're here to support everyone and we raise everyone up at the same time. So it's beautiful. I have one final question. I always ask this at the end of my interviews. What is your message to the world? What is your life's mission?
My life's mission is to help women in particular accept who they are and then step into the power of who that is. And realizing you don't have to, you're not wrong. You don't have to change who you are. Like, you have gifts and power even in all of those imperfections. So it's really about reclaiming yourself and being, this is me authentically. Let's do this. So
I love that.
Self-acceptance, self-love. That's the answer to everything. I promise. It's the answer to everything.
I love that. We have such similar goals and such similar outlooks on everything, and it really touches my soul when you talk. It's beautiful. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm just going to love your message. Thank you for sharing your breathwork practices as well. I'm sure that's going to help someone somewhere. And thank you for being you and doing the work that you do and empowering all these beautiful women that you do.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. I love that we're so aligned and in sync. And keep doing the amazing work that you do and supporting your community, because it's just so, so, so valuable.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. See you.
Bye.
Thank you, dear souls, for joining me on this sacred journey. If you enjoyed this soul-nourishing experience, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon so you can stay connected and never miss a moment of our soulful exploration. Let's keep this transformative conversation going in the comments below. Share your insights, your dreams, and the magical moments you encounter. This is a community of like-minded souls, and your voice matters. If you're feeling called to dive even deeper into the realms of intuition and soulful living, remember that I'm here for you. Reach out to me through the links in the description. Let's embark on a personalized adventure to help you create the life of your dreams. This is Vanessa signing off from the Sacred Soul Shift series. Stay enchanted and keep shining bright.